In this section, we'll look at FDR's attempt to provide emergency relief to people hungry and in need of immediate assistance, and also to get people back to work. All the things he did in the first 3 months, his first 100 days. Obviously, a major part of the first 100 days was getting immediate relief, food, clothing, medicine to people in need. And so FDR got the Federal Emergency Relief Act passed in May 1933. If nothing else, it'd keep people from rebelling or getting violent. It created the Federal Emergency Relief Administration, and that would give matching funds to states that allocated money for public relief projects like free food kitchens or free medical clinics. As part of the Federal Emergency Relief Act, the government created the first food stamp program whereby needy would get coupons that they could redeem in stores for food. It was a pilot temporary program and of course later was made permanent during the Great Society. Leading the Federal Emergency Relief Administration was Harry Hopkins, who would soon become a major figure in the New Deal. He'd been a social worker who'd headed New York State's relief efforts from 1929 to 1933. He was a real thin, hyperactive guy and known as a real partier, a chain smoker, big drinker, known for chasing skirts and gambling at the racetrack. And he really enlivened the rather boring D.C. social scene. He became a gossip columnist, a real topic for them. In his first 2 hours on the job, Hopkins operated from a makeshift desk in a hallway, but still distributed more than $5 million to state and local relief efforts. FDR realized that the Federal Emergency Relief Act was only an emergency stopgap measure to keep people fed, and that the real task was to get people on a steady paycheck and job. So FDR got past his first public works program, the Civilian Conservation Corps, or the CCC. The environment was one of FDR's pet concerns, and the CCC, the idea was to employ jobless young men in rural projects such as reforestation or park maintenance or fighting soil erosion or fighting flood control. It applied only to men between the ages of 18 and 25, and it excluded women. Men were sent to military-style camps where they worked on conservation projects. The reason it was organized in a military fashion was also to instill in some of these young men a sense of discipline. There's an educational purpose. They learned teamwork and the following orders, and they also wouldn't go out and blow their money. Before it was disbanded right at the beginning of World War II, it employed over 2 million people, and it created many things which we still enjoy today. For example, shown here, the Blue Ridge Parkway in Virginia, but you can see CCC work in many parks across the country. One of the most successful of FDR's first 100-day programs was the Tennessee Valley Authority, or TVA, which passed in May 1933. In the American South, in western Virginia, North Carolina, northern Georgia, Alabama, there's an area called Appalachia. And it is a particularly poor area. It's difficult to get up in the mountain areas there, and the people are isolated and exceptionally poor. They don't have a lot of electricity. There's not a lot of business. The idea for the TVA was to dam the Tennessee River and its tributaries flowing out of the mountains. This would, of course, create lots of jobs. Damming the river would create jobs for the people in Appalachia, but what they were building was hydroelectric dams. And these dams would not only help with flood control, but they would allow for cheap electricity where before there was none. A private company could come into Appalachia and build a hydroelectric dam, but it would have to charge too high electrical fees to recoup its cost. And the government could do it in cheap and have cheaper electricity and recoup its cost over a longer period. And so the TVA would go in and build these hydroelectric dams, employing the people in Appalachia, helping with flood control, and also making cheap electricity, which of course was the ultimate real big economic boom from this. private utility companies sued, claiming an unfair competition from the government, but the Supreme Court ruled in 1939 that the TVA was constitutional. It was a very successful program, and today, but you quickly see the percentage of people in Appalachia go up. And today, the TVA's got somewhere about 95% of the region electrified. This concludes the section on FDR's emergency relief and some of the early employment efforts of the first 100 days.